All right, hello, period one. It is Sunday at 2:30. I'm just sitting down to start grading these. Kind of shocked that not everyone submitted. All my classes, I got maybe 5 or 6 entries at most. So I don't know if you guys are just overwhelmed with work or what, but you're definitely making my life easier because I only have to do a critique for the handful of people that submitted. But everyone should be watching this review so that they get advice on how to proceed with their logo as well. So I'm just going to click through these in order and take a look at them and give some commentary. So I'm assuming this is like a skateboard company. Of these, I like this one the best. I like what's happening with the broken board, and I'm assuming it's called Crooked is the name of the company, or skate shop. So this is probably the best one. I would move forward with this one, but also I would advise you to look into maybe having something with the O's being a little crooked since that's the name of it. So I just kind of played around with it in Illustrator here. I went with a fatter, a thicker typewriter font. And if you copy and paste that and you go to type, create outlines, you're going to be able to turn that type into vector. And then using your plus arrow, you can swipe around one of them and maybe do something, where it's a little bit off, right? So maybe it's just a little bit crooked. So maybe something like that. And then in like a thinner font, you could say, skateboard company or whatever. So it has that little crookedness to it. Or maybe even that part mimics that, something like that to really just kind of finish it off. I don't think you need the board here. I like it as an icon. Maybe it can be its own thing. Like maybe this could be inside of a rectangle and that could be its own image, but your type logo is something more like this. So hopefully that helps you. Next up, I'm not sure what company this is because I don't see like a name or anything. It should relate to a small business that actually exists. I like the Gothic B as a logo. If you're going to do something with this EA, again, I would advise to play with it, take it in your type form, and then go to type, create outlines. That will separate it into vectors, and then we can kind of swipe around each piece. And you can see how those letters can connect, or can they connect, right? So maybe it goes like this. I mean, I don't have the same font that you have, but just to give you an idea, how can you make that? Maybe this one has to be smaller, right? So there should be some way to get these two letters to interact, and that's where the play comes in. That's what takes time, right? To sit here and kind of tweak and see what looks good and how does it look good, and maybe does it go in a shape now? Is it part of an oval, or how does it turn into a mark now? That's basically the thing that we're doing. If this is your initials, then I would suggest choosing a different store. It has to be an actual brand that exists. It has to be an actual business. We are going to do a personal logo later in the year, so don't jump ahead. We're already going to do that um, at the end of the year. All right, Mr. Crispy. So for this one, again, I would avoid getting too much with the imagery. You really want to make sure the customer sees the name of the company. If this was a sign outside, there's a lot going on here, and you might say it's Mr. and then you might miss this part, or you might say it's Mr. Rispies. It can't be unclear. There can't be any hesitation or doubt as to what the name of the company is, because you really have to get that across. Instead of thinking about this as like, oh, I'm going to do this big pizza, and I see where you're going with the slices are making up the K, which is a great concept, but how do we simplify that and minimalize it, right? So if we have Mr. Crispies and then we trace out the negative space that's being created by the K's, which is a great concept for logo design, dealing with negative space. Now, how do we take that shape out and have that become something? How can that be part of our symbol, right? So I did that here, and I kind of did orange and red, and I lowered the opacity so you get that kind of crossover color. And then I put some simple sans serif font there. Now, the upper lower is going to give you more of a casual, friendly feel. If you went with an all upper, that's a lot more sophisticated. And I don't know that this piece goes there. You know, maybe it goes here. Maybe it goes on top. You know, maybe it goes like that. Maybe it becomes like a little crown that is made out of these slices. So I don't know. Or maybe it goes this way, but it goes inside of some kind of a rectangle shape or box, right? And that becomes like the Mr. Crispy's logo. Remember, logos need to be reduced and simplified and minimalized. So there shouldn't be a lot of graphics going on. It should be kind of super, super minimal, easy to understand, easy to make sense of, right? So again, I love the concept of using this shape of what's inside the K in whatever font that you choose, but then how do we minimalize that and make it be, you know, maybe it doesn't have to go exactly like that. You know, maybe it can go like this, you know, or like that. Maybe it looks like a bunch of slices kind of thrown down. So that's where the play comes in. You know, guys, that's why I stress that you can't shortcut logo design. You have to really play with it and see what happens. Right? That might be getting into too many pieces here, but you get the idea, right? So your job is to play and see what comes up when you do it. Why can't I turn that orange? There we go. You know, so maybe it comes into something like that. I don't know. Again, you don't want to get too busy. Maybe keep it simple. Go back to the K, right? So play with that. That's my best advice. But stay away from being way too image heavy and way too difficult to read. All right, this one is great, simple. I love this kind of hand scripty font. Again, I don't even think you need the pizza wheel. I think it's like extra. There's nothing wrong with having a type only logo. You can do a submark, like let's say your main logo does not have the wheel in it, right? That's for your outdoor signage, maybe your menu, you know, things like that. But then maybe on your to-go packaging, you know, you might use this symbol on the cup or on the whatever, on the takeout box, right? If you're a pizzeria, you're going to have a giant big cardboard box takeout. For Ristorante, I would try going in the all caps, kind of more like this, kind of put it in here. Don't forget about tracking, right? Remember that's under character, and then it's this VA, and you can stretch that out, because I think that might look really nice having that spacing, but with that, let's see if I can make it happen. See that, but with this underneath it, right? Or even maybe one of these scripts. So I like the pizzeria in the script. When you are doing script though, down here, do not use tracking. Okay, script needs to be touching. The letters need to touch so they get that flowing feeling. So do not add tracking to script, but do add tracking to serifs and sans serifs. But you're off to a great start. This is beautiful. Keep going. Brianna. Okay, yeah, this is great too. So here's an example where the image is inside the logo, but it works. And the reason it works is because it's small and it's not taking up the whole thing. If you remember back to Mr. Crispy, the logo was really this giant image, right? And the text was kind of buried inside of it. Here, the text is really what's speaking to us, and the image is really, really tiny. It's just a little accent. It's just a little space in the O. So I like both of these. Really nice. I like both of these fonts. It's a hard choice between these two, the Northampton or the Benalla font. They both look great. I kind of like the T in this one though. It looks like a needle and thread. I'm assuming it's a fashion store or apparel. Let's see. All right, so this one I'm not sure, like cat in the bag. Is it like a thing, like don't let the cat out of the bag, like it's a secret restaurant? These are too vague. They can work for submarks, meaning like maybe just on the packaging or on the napkin, or the coaster might have just an image only. For down here, I think your strongest one is maybe doing something like this, but I would connect. See if you can move that cat down to right here. I can't do it because I don't have the cat vector that you're using. But if you take this little cat and you move him down here, and maybe you can rotate him so he faces outwards, and then the tail could connect to that tail of the I. So it's almost like the word Shanghai goes right into the tail and right into the cat. For the word restaurant, again, I'd point you back up here. I would try all capitals and I would try tracking it out in a less hand-drawn looking font, so something a little bit more sophisticated. So here's your kind of hand-drawn script. Keep it more together like this. Don't add tracking, but then add the tracking here for restaurant, all capitals, sophisticated, something like that. If it is a restaurant, which I'm assuming it is. Keep going. Nice try with all those different options. All right, mason jar. I'm assuming this is the one that they have now. So what I did when I looked at this is I said, all right, well, let's research, right? Let's see what the mason jar logos are. So if you Google what is actually etched on the glass of a mason jar, it looks like this, right? So this is like how you can tell how old the mason jar is based on how the logo appears. So maybe you can mimic this kind of a script, right, for mason, and then we could do jar as the sans serif underneath it. So I kind of threw that together real quickly. So this is a font called Bromello, and it's kind of that hand-drawn script. You can even try to maybe angle it a little bit and then put jar underneath it, right? So something like that. If you wanted to add the little graphic of the jar, the little outline, that might go maybe right in here. Although I don't think you need to show it twice. It might work as this being your logo for everything else, and then for your submark you have like this little kind of jar thing, and then you could put the logo inside of it, almost as if it would appear on the glass itself. So try that. Really look to the history of the actual glass mason jar for your inspiration. And last one. All right, so I love the research that you did here. You're pulling in a lot of imagery that makes sense. These are looking good. I like the little brick oven. It's giving me Anthony's coal-fired vibes. So I also look at their logo as well. Good font for pizza. Anthony Franco's, I would flip up that font and do something a little bit more modern or sophisticated, but I'd also put this in white because you can't really read black on green. And I know most people didn't touch on color yet, which we'll get to this week. So I think this is where we're going. This is probably your best one out of the bunch. But I would work on this Anthony Franco's font. I would do something a little bit more sophisticated script or something a little bit more kind of like this one is, right? A little bit more calligraphy. This font is a little bit kind of old school. Pizza looks good. Also try Bebas, Bebas. You guys should have that font. That's a great one for all capitals. All right. And I think that's it.